I don't remember caring about anything. I don't remember caring about what people said to me. It was just white noise. The eating disorder has taken over you so far that you're just a shell of a person.
That would be your point where things started to change for you?
I think so. The real change in my mindset that when, okay, I can actually make them proud here. I can do this. I'm stronger than I think.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Jill Spills, where each week we will be spilling the tea on various different subjects. Today I want to welcome my very first guest, a very good friend, Megan. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So we've been good friends for over 4 years now. We've worked in the fitness industry for many years between us. Today's subject, we're going to be talking about your relationship with food, health and fitness and your journey with all of that. I know this is a very sensitive subject and I know you've never spoken about this before. So thank you for coming onto the couch today and chatting. Talk to me about how this all started, where you first noticed your relationship with your food and your health started to change and the effects that it had.
Firstly, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you for this safe space. Obviously, it is a sensitive topic and I haven't really spoken much about it before. But I think the first thing is being the age where I'm at and in the career that I'm in has allowed me now to kind of reflect on the last 15, 16 years of my life, especially with my relationship with food, working within the industry and what that's been like for me. I'm speaking purely of my own experience. I can't speak for others. So, everyone goes through adolescence, teens, young, 20s and to where they are today differently. So I think the biggest change for me started when I was probably 14, 15, just emigrated. Yeah, and it's a really difficult age, I think, for a lot of people. You're quite susceptible to everything around you. You're quite vulnerable. So a little backstory on me, I moved to Australia from the UK quite quickly with my whole family, and within the first 2 years, my health and fitness, or my health and my relationship with food started to spiral.
Do you think that's because of the change of the uprooting and moving into somewhere totally different, something new, different of what you were used to?
Yeah, I think so. I think that for me personally, everything was taken from me quite quickly. So I had my core group of friends growing up. I went to a school that I absolutely loved, grew up just in Surrey, so south of London, and just had a very good, very happy upbringing. Was a gymnast for about 8 to 10 years. So yeah, it's safe to say I had everything going for me, and there's obviously reasons behind it and no regrets. My parents made a decision, that's absolutely fine.
They just wanted to move different country?
Yeah, it was when the UK hit a recession in 2008, and to do with my dad's job, we obviously emigrated. I had family already in Melbourne. So I felt like when I got there, I think it was within this first month, I was launched into a co-ed school and I'd only been in an all-girls school. So that was like the first thing for me where it was quite overwhelming, suddenly introduced to a world of boys at the age of 15, I think it was. And it was double the amount of people in my school year. So I'd gone from a school year of 90 to over 160. And I was the hot topic. As soon as I got there, it was the girl with the English accent. Every second guy asking me to say tea and scones about a million times. And I had to give up gymnastics, didn't want to go back into it. Kind of was a little bit lost for the first 6 months, just I think trying to find my feet. We had like a school camp. We had to go away for a whole term. And I kind of was thrown into the term of the international students, the students that had just started the school, because I hadn't really made my core group of friends yet. Obviously, that takes a while. So during that time, you're taking away from your family again for another, I think it was about 6 weeks. And they try and teach you, skills for life and it's that kind of camp, but you don't have a lot of contact with your parents. And through that time, that was the first time I started noticing a bit of change and went through a little bit of bulimia. It probably was a little bit of a cry for help looking back on it.
Had you made friendships at this point? Was there people that you could confide in, or did you still very much feel isolated?
I had friends. I definitely had a couple of really good friends that were my probably closest friends for the next 4 years in high school. At that time, no, I didn't speak out to anyone. There was a kind of an on-camp counsellor that spoke to my parents when they noticed that something wasn't right. I kind of stopped eating.
And what was your thought process with that? What can you remember what you were feeling and thinking at the time when you were looking at those foods, or why you didn't want to eat them?
able to reflect now, I think it was control. And I think now that obviously I work in the health and fitness industry, and I've had the last 10 years the honour of working with clients that have got mental health struggles, I'm now able to reflect on that and say it's purely for me. It was a act of having control on something, having everything taken from you, and then the only thing that you have control over is what you put in your mouth and what you can eat. So I think that had a massive impact. And then, within 6 months after that, through excessive exercise that obviously was grueling. I hated it. I did it because it was a punishment. I didn't do it because I loved it. And restricting myself from food more and more every single day, hiding it from my parents, going to school literally I remember a tangerine, didn't eat anything, avoided my friends at lunchtime, sat in the toilets for half an hour until that bell rang and I went back to class.
So what sort of exercise were you saying you was like gruel? What were you doing? Was you just being over excessive with it, or was it every time you ate you felt you had to train? Or
at that time it was gym daily. And so a good thing to kind of pinpoint is when I was at that age, the massive thing that was going around in the social world and was thigh gap. And that was the biggest thing. Everyone wanted a thigh gap. Skinny was better. It wasn't about muscle. It wasn't about tone. It was like the tinier you were, if you were a size 6, 8, 10, that's what you wanted to be. It was always be tiny. That's what the boys wanted. That's what they liked. And of course, you're 16 years old. I mean, like I said at the start, you're vulnerable. You're in a place where anything that anyone says to you or peer pressure is just huge. So excessive exercise, I used to go to the gym and run for as long as I could burn enough calories so obviously I was counting my calories of the food, and that's the biggest thing, because obviously I knew exactly what was going into my body. So I'd make sure that I'd exercised more than what I'd consumed, so that I knew that I was going to lose weight every single day.
So basing it on that as well, interestingly, as a personal trainer yourself now and a coach in the studio where you work, is back then, I would imagine, was there even any like coaches or anyone guiding you in that gym? Or, that's the thing. I guess you were just left to do your own thing, because it's very different now that everything is so more, there's people there to help you physically and mentally with the fitness journey. And
100%.
You obviously didn't have that back then.
It wasn't really spoken about, if I'm honest. You're thrown into counselling because they think that, it's something to do with home life. It's something is not quite right. They just don't know how to deal with it at the time. They do now. Obviously, there's a lot more information out there and a lot more help. My dad obviously was exercising a lot of the time with me, so he thought that was promoting health. So we'd go to the gym every day. Little did he know that I wasn't really eating throughout the day. And it wasn't until my sister came to the gym once and I stood on the scales and she burst into tears. And, growing up, obviously I'm quite small, so obviously every weight doesn't matter and everyone weighs differently and it's not about weight. But what I can remember is healthy gymnast. I was healthy, muscular, about kind of 55 to 58 kilos. And that day my sister looked, I was about 46, 47, and she just burst into tears. That probably was the first pivotal moment where I went, okay, something's not quite right here, but I couldn't stop. Like, there was just a voice in my head every single day that just said, this is what you want, keep going. And I think you get past, I got past a point where it was even me, it was something that just was consuming my mind.
So did your sister confront you or sit down and try and talk to you and you just ignored, or did you how did you feel when you knew that one of your family members was highlighting? Did you feel like, I know what's going on, I need to stop, or I need to get help? Or did you just at that point just, I've got to keep going?
Yeah, I told her everything was fine and that but that's what you say. I just put it absolutely fine. There's nothing to worry about. I'm all good. And it caused a massive wedge in my family because obviously then my parents were a little bit more aware. They banned me from the gym. I couldn't go anymore. So what did I do? I ran around school everywhere I could go, class to class.
Did you resent them at the time for that?
Yeah, because again, you're looking at your parents. They want to help you. They're terrified. And I can never put myself in their shoes. They went through, and I live with regret even now in regards to they went through the biggest stress that they've ever gone through. My sister felt neglected. There's a big kind of background of emotions from each of my family throughout that stage, because it was a good 2-3 years of stress, a lot of stress. Obviously, my sister was navigating her way through high school, so she was 2 years older than me. She had serious exams, and all of the attention was on me because obviously I just kept on dropping weight by the day. It was crazy. And then before I knew it, my mum was flying me back to the UK. She thought I was homesick. So I came back, I'm trying to remember now, I think it was about summer, thinking that would help, and seeing all my old school friends. And then within that time frame, I think I was in the UK for about a month, maybe just over. My doctor my GP that I had when I was a baby in Surrey had contacted my doctor in Australia saying this girl needs a hospital bed the day that she gets home. Like, it was awful. And even then I was obviously eating more because you see family, friends, they cook for you.
So the people that hadn't seen you for all that time and you'd come back, were they shocked by what they saw?
Yeah.
Or did, they could see, and how did you react to that when they were telling you, like, oh, what's going on, Megan? Did you still hide it? Or was realisation starting to kick in that there is something seriously, like, I'm getting seriously ill here and I do need to try and get help?
In all honesty, I don't remember caring about anything. I don't remember caring about what people said to me. It was just white noise. Like, obviously my parents had warned family, friends, and my friends saying it's going to be quite confronting when you see her. I think at this stage, I was probably about 42, 43 kilos, so I was tiny. And of course, everyone thinks that they can help. At that time, shoving food down my throat wasn't going to help me, because it was just going to make me rebel more, I think. And
because of the control element.
Yeah. And at that stage, the eating disorder has taken over you so far that you're just a shell of a person. Like, you don't think properly. All of your organs start shutting down. That's what's happening. And even your brain, like, you just don't think straight. You don't think clearly. Day to day, you're just focusing on one thing, and that is a fear of food. It's a legit fear of food. You are terrified. And if you eat something that I remember being absolutely terrified of almonds. Almonds were like...
Really?
Yeah, and pasta. I could not touch a piece of pasta. Like, it just... And even to this day, only a couple of years ago, I was comfortable having a dish of pasta. I never used to eat it.
Only till a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And what is that because of obviously we'll talk more about it, but is that because of the journey that you've gone through and starting to learn to love, I suppose, yourself and food, and having that more of that mental health and better understanding of it all, that you knew that it was okay?
Definitely. I think having worked in the industry, and I think having more knowledge now on nutrition and health and what the body needs to actually function, has taught me a hell of a lot. Understanding yourself as well, and being in a position where you're surrounded by your core group of friends, the people that actually love you for who you are. You feel grounded, you feel more settled within yourself, you follow and know what you care about. It's not about being the same as someone else. You're an individual. I think until you reach that point of accepting yourself for who you are, and all that comes with that, is when you feel truly kind of comfortable and safe to have a good relationship with everything: health, fitness, stress, life, grief.
Where would you say you kind of transitioned from? Because it's quite interesting because of that fear that everything, like the industry you're in now, considering the type of industry you're in, that it was almost, it became like an obsessional thing for you because of various reasons. Where would that transition, where you kind of felt like you were on the road to recovery, you were getting better, and then do you feel that you wanted to get more into the industry to try and help others because of what you'd gone through? Or did you just feel that going into the fitness industry was actually really helping you get through your journey?
It's funny because clearly when you're recovering from an eating disorder, everyone tells you you'll relapse if you go into health and fitness. So cutting a long story short, I recovered quite quickly. I had a moment where I woke up one day and just went, okay, enough's enough. I had been in hospital for a month, bedbound, wheelchair to the toilet. You can't burn anything. I remember snack time was 15 minutes, main meals were half an hour, and you had to eat all of your food within that time frame. If you didn't, tube was down, that's it. Like, they had to ensure that you had enough, and I was in a ward with 6 other girls. It was the worst month of my life. Coming out of that, recovering, going back to school, I still had another 2 years of high school, figuring out what I was going to do. My parents obviously had pressure to go to uni. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. So
how was home life at that point?
Stressful. Very stressful.
Were they almost like suffocating you because they wanted what was best for you? Or did the relationships change because of everything? Was it like eggshells? And
well, when you leave, when I left hospital, they gave me like a meal plan that obviously my parents had to follow to ensure that I wasn't going to drop weight. So when your body is running that thin, the only thing that it can go for is basically muscle, because there's no fat on your body. As soon as you start exerting more energy, I've been bedbound for a month. As soon as I started going back to school, the weight started dropping off, and I was very close to going back into hospital for a second time. Even at that stage, I wasn't excessive at exercise. It was more hiding food. So one thing, obviously this is a lot of reflection going on here, but in hospital, you learn to pick up habits from other people in your ward. I came home and started taking these habits into home of hiding food in my Ugg boots. I had weekly doctor appointments, weekly blood tests to make sure that everything was okay. I used to hold water every time I got weighed at work, at the GP. So would literally down litres of water before I went into the doctor's surgery.
And this was tips that all you got with other girls?
Because it was like you can fake your recovery, really, if you want to remain where you are. And it's not so much you want to be skinny. At this stage, for me, it was about habits, and it was about having something to focus on every single day of my life, and having that, you know what I mean? Like, just having a purpose every day. That's what I can say. It's a purpose. I had something that wasn't being controlled for me. My parents were cooking for me. I was obviously hiding things down everywhere, you can name it, holding things in my mouth and then spitting them out in the toilet. I was like a beaver holding things. It's amazing what I got away with, honestly.
Did you feel like guilt? Like, did you feel like you've been going through all that first part of that journey and you'd come out? Did at any point you think, right, I've got to get back on track, I want to be, a better person, a better version of myself? Or, as you say, because you got picked up on so many habits from there, you wanted to just think it was still that bit of being scared of losing control?
Yeah. I mean, you're terrified the whole time. I hated the stress that was putting on my family. My parents constantly argued. My sister was going through her own stress and anxiety at the time. But for me, like, the moment that it changed, obviously because of the weekly doctor's appointments, I was told from school that if I continued the way that I was going, I would be held back a year. And I'd spent so long making friends, I was like, well, I can't drop down a year. That's just not going to happen. So that was probably step one of me going, okay, so what weight do I have to be at in order to go up? And it was 47. 47 kilos was where I had to get. And at this stage, I was probably about 44, right on the cusp of going back to hospital. And I didn't want to miss out on, my year of friends and going into the last 2 years of high school. That's what I wanted to do.
So that would be your point where things started to change for you?
I think so. And there was one memory, actually, that, so my dad passed away last year. And I remember one dinner that I had with him, and he took me out, and it was just the two of us. And it was the first time that he purely opened up about his upbringing and his mental health struggles. And that evening, I remember wiping the oil off the prawns and, sitting there. And of course, he's sitting there. The waiters are a bit awkward serving us because I'm there kind of stressing about the food, looking at the menu. And safe to say the entree and the main were very, very stressful. And then my dad kind of opened up and I surprised him, and he'd be laughing right now if he could hear. But right last minute, the waiter came over and said, "Oh, so I'll just get the bill then." And I turned around and said, "Can I have a look at the dessert menu, please?" And my dad's face was like, "What? Are you quite all right?" And I ended up getting sorbet or something, but that was a real change in my mindset that went, okay, I can actually make them proud here. I can do this. I'm stronger than I think. And I've always had that little flick in my mind that's like, and I've always said to myself, and I did at the time, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, no matter what crap you're going through. Don't know if I can swear on this, but whatever you're going through, there's always a light to the end of the tunnel. You've always got that inner strength in your mind, and the mind is the most powerful thing in the body. So yeah, that moment, I remember just looking at myself one day and going, I've had enough of this. Actually, I'm quite bored of this this restrictive life. It was ruining my friendships. It was ruining everything. I was told that I may never have children. I didn't have my period for 3 years. Your whole body just shuts down. Yeah. My parents were told one night when I was in hospital that your daughter might die, literally. So keep your phone close to you. I mean, imagine being a parent and hearing that.
Yeah.
And I was there playing Sims in hospital, just cracking away. No idea that that's what they were told. But I just thought, how long am I going to be in this hellhole for until I can get back out into the open world? So yeah, safe to say, ever since I came out, now I'm getting back to your question, came out of that kind of stage of my life, finished high school, went to uni for a short semester, realised I was doing subjects that I didn't want to do for the rest of my life, saw an advert on a bus for a fitness institute that I could get my group instructor in PT, rang my dad, of all people, said, "Can you come down? I really want you to trust me and see this place."
Did you at any point when you thought, I'm going to do this, did you think at any point, could I go back into old habits if I go into an industry like this? Or did you think long and hard about it to think, okay, this could actually, I could benefit here and I could benefit myself, others, this could make me a better person in a sense? Like, was you wary about it going into it, or you didn't even think about that at the time?
Yeah, no, personally I didn't. I felt like that's what I wanted to do. It was more convincing those around me that it was the right thing to do.
Did you almost feel like if you went into the fitness industry, it would be a safe space for you? Because, being honest with you, it was still going to give you an element of control with your fitness and your food. So actually being in that industry was going to allow you to keep the habits almost in a way, not the old ones necessarily, but alongside it.
I think growing up, fitness was always part of my life. So it was always installed in me. You know, I used to train 3-4 times a week for gymnastics, and I always loved that conditioning. I loved that. I grew up in a happy childhood where it was like play outside all the time and run in the garden, trampolining, and I loved that. So it was always in me to exercise and just to have that in my lifestyle. I think even now, yes, I do have guilt if I don't train. So if I don't, I'm not saying every day, I probably train a comfortable 3-4 times a week. And I've definitely been in a space where I used to train 5 or 6.
When I first met you, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to train back-to-back sessions. I used to do home sessions. So there was definitely a time where it was a bit more obsessive, where I felt like I'd have to do it. That was more feeling of anxiety. So kind of mid-20s was probably the stage where panic attacks started creeping in and I had more anxiety. My health and my fitness was fine. It wasn't the best. Obviously, you're at an age where you're going out a lot and you're partying a lot and you've got boyfriend after boyfriend and, you're still navigating your life. Yeah. But I definitely wasn't always exercising just for the love of it. It was sometimes, I'm doing this because I have to. I think working at F45, where I met you, has been probably the last 4 best years of my life. I've managed to surround myself with people that have taught me a lot about myself, that probably know me better than anyone. And understanding that if you train smart, it's not about how often you train, it's not about how many calories you burn and how much energy you put into it. It's about listening to your body and training smart. Quality, not quantity.
Do you think the fitness industry now, well, obviously we're both in that industry, and with everything in your journey that you've just spoken about, do you think that the fitness industry is better now? It's more mindful, it's more has a better understanding with people that might be going through now what you've gone through?
For sure.
Do you think that we are in a place now where we can guide people in a better way so they can be more open and honest if they do feel that they need to talk to someone?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think the fitness industry has changed massively, especially in the last kind of 5 years from what I remember. Being able to celebrate performance now is a lot of a bigger thing rather than weight loss journeys. And, everyone's
about
at their
strength
own
now, right?
It's all about strength, which is great. I think the more we educate people as well, everyone's at the different stages of health and fitness. We all look different. We all train differently. We all enjoy different things. And I think learning to kind of have everything in balance has been the biggest life lesson for me. You can train, you can enjoy your life, you could be healthy, just understanding that nutrition, sleep, energy, everything works together to form your functionality every single day. And if one of those things are off, then obviously it's going to cause kind of a catalyst somewhere else. I absolutely adore working in the fitness industry now, just because it's about celebrating people's achievements, whether that is hitting a PB in the gym, whether that's an increase in confidence, whether that's hitting your first 5K run, a marathon, whatever, having
Pull up.
A pull-up. Yeah, chill. You got it.
I did.
Having a long-term goal, having a short-term goal is really important. And I absolutely, one of the thrills of my job now is seeing, because I don't do one-to-one PT anymore, I used to, seeing members come in and seeing them over maybe a 6-month, maybe 12-month period, and seeing the change within them. It just brings me so much joy, and that's why I realised the career
you can
that
see
I'm
the
in
benefits
is the right thing.
now of doing it in a correct way and enjoying food, enjoying fitness, and being happy with it. What would you now tell your younger self? What guidance would you give? What advice?
Try not to sweat the small stuff so much. Some things, it is okay for them to be out of your control. I still have kind of control issues to this day, so I think letting go sometimes is a good life lesson. Trusting, it sounds so cliche, but trusting the process. I think making mistakes is vital in making you who you are today. I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes in the last 10, 15 years, but I've never regretted any single one of them, because I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for those, because you learn.
Yeah.
Giving yourself a little bit of flexibility, giving yourself a bit of freedom, and appreciating the things and reminding yourself of the things that you actually like about yourself.
Yeah.
We can get so clouded by the negative stuff, looking at all the things that we scrutinize, and we're all guilty of it. Looking at things we want to change, things we want to work on and fix.
Do you think social media, where it's so big now, and you can filter and things, do you think that adds
Massively.
a little bit of fire to it still?
Massively. I do feel for the younger generation growing up in a world like today, for sure, because social media has a massive influence in good and bad ways.
Yeah, I think it's
Good and
making
bad
it more
ways.
open to people to be more open.
Yeah.
But I agree.
But I do think, there's good and bad in social media, for sure. I mean, everyone's glued to their phones every single day. We are looking at other things, other people all the time. One thing I've started doing with some members is when they come in now is just saying, right, tell me one thing you love about yourself. And I do the same to myself every day, just naming one thing that you like about yourself. And it's a game changer, because
Do you say that to yourself?
Sometimes. Not always. Sometimes. I try to more.
Yeah.
I try to more. I think you have to appreciate the things that you do love about yourself, because we're all not perfect. 100% we're all not perfect. And a lot of the people on social media that we think are perfect have had a lot of stuff changed and done, and they have money in order to do so. They have personal trainers. We're not all like that. I don't think it's appreciating, again, natural. You are who you are.
Where would you like to see yourself in the next 2 years, 5 years?
Ooh.
What's your dream?
I'm very happy in my career at the moment. I want to build that at F45. I love it. I feel like I've got my family, my community, and if I can help just one person feel more confident within themselves and realize that if they are having issues in terms of food or relationship with exercise, if I can help them see that that's not the be all and end all, and that if they listen and trust and try to kind of change their habits to work on themselves, it's not an easy process, but if they can, then I've done my job. I don't know, in 2 years, 5 years, hopefully one day have a family, because I can do, obviously. Just being happy within myself.
That in
really.
itself must be a lovely thing, knowing that how close that you couldn't have had those dreams back then, but you can have them now.
Yeah, I think that's one thing to mention, having been told by doctors that I was most likely infertile, and not having a period for 3 years at that age is quite scary. And then getting pregnant, early 20s, that actually was a celebration in my life rather than a stress, because I realised, okay, I'm
Your
healthy.
body,
Yeah, I've done it. I'm back to normal. And, last thing that I kind of want to touch on as well is recently, in the last maybe 2-3 years, I've dived into women's health a lot more. So looking at menstrual cycles, looking at pre and postnatal, and all that comes with is women's health. Having a better understanding on that and seeing how our bodies fluctuate and understanding the women's body a lot more has made me so much calmer when it comes to body fluctuations, training performance, because a lot of it comes from hormonal imbalance, and it's normal. It's really normal.
I think a lot of girls don't have an understanding of that. And
No.
I know in the studio you talk about it, and it does become... It's become very apparent that a lot of people didn't understand about the hormones and the menstrual cycle. And I think if bringing that more into fitness would make a massive difference, because hormones make a huge
We're not
difference.
really taught much about it.
No.
We're taught kind of, here, you get your period, this is what you do. You get it once a month,
grouchy.
crack on. Yeah. Yeah, you get PMS symptoms, crack on. But we're not taught how it's going to affect our strength, affect our energy, affect our mindset, and again, every woman's different. Some people get barely any symptoms, some people get a lot of symptoms. As I've gotten older, I've realised that my symptoms are worse. So I get stress, I get anxiety, headaches, nausea, tiredness, and it's great fun. but understanding that as a PT now and as a fitness instructor, I know when to push myself when I go into the gym. I know when I have to go 50%.
Yeah.
I know when I'm just moving for the sake of moving and I'm not going in to do the biggest session of my life. And if I can educate more women about that, I think that women will be 100% kinder to themselves when they step into the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I know that was a very difficult subject for you to talk about, and I'm very appreciative that you chose to use Jill Spills to talk about it. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you.
I'll be there for the future, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Cheers.
Cheers.